All right, so here we have it. There is apparently a professor who has correctly predicted 9 of the last 10 elections, and he's standing by Harris. Okay, so we're going to see what they're talking about here, and let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, okay? Before we get into this video, shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad family, the King Squad elites. You guys are the bottom of the comment. You guys are awesome. Don't let anybody tell you different, and I appreciate you guys, okay? And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe these videos to the channel for more videos, and so that more people can be exposed to the truth of what's going on out here. Let's go.
This tonight is the one and only Professor Alan Lichtman. He has correctly predicted 9 of the last 10 elections, and the one he got wrong, 2000, he argues he actually got right since Al Gore beat George W. Bush in the popular vote. So exactly how does Lichtman make his predictions? Well, he says we should follow his 13 keys to the White House. They include things like incumbency and third-party candidates, state of the economy, and social unrest. If 6 or more go against the party in the White House, its candidate will lose. Fewer than 6, its candidate will win. So what are the keys saying today? Let's bring in Alan Lichtman to talk all about it. Professor Lichtman, look, your keys are pointing toward Kamala Harris. Has anything happened in the last few weeks that makes you feel more confident in your prediction?
Nothing has changed. And by the way, I didn't say I was right in 2000 because of the popular vote. I said I predicted the right president based on the intent of the voters in Florida, as I proved in my 2001 report to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. But historians will be debating 2000 forever. Nothing has changed. The biggest myth in American politics is the so-called October surprise. I've always issued my predictions before then and never changed them. In 2016, for example, we had the biggest October surprise. Donald Trump on tape bragging about sexually assaulting women, and a lot of women coming out and saying, yeah, he did that to me. Even Republicans were saying he was finished. I did not change my prediction of a Trump win, which, Laura, you can imagine did not make me very popular in 90% plus Democratic DC, where I teach at American University.
Well, you usually have a lot of butterflies ahead of an election, even if you are people getting backlash or otherwise. But you have said that this year, you say you feel like you have I think it was a flock of crows, not just butterflies, in your stomach. What makes you so anxious this time?
Well, 2 things. Number one, I have never experienced the kind of hate I've had heaped on me this time, which has made me very nervous. I've had hate that's scurrilous, vulgar, threatening, violent. Security of my family's been compromised. We've had to notify the police. We've had to fortify our home. It's been terribly upsetting. The other thing is, I believe democracy is on the line in this election. If I'm wrong, so be it. You know, I think being wrong once is not going to discredit my system, but I think if I'm wrong, then our
They think democracy is on the line. I tell you.
democracy is in very serious peril. Democracy is precious, but it can be destroyed, and it's almost always destroyed from within. And unfortunately, the trend of this century has been the decline of democracy all over the world, and I'm worried about our country.
I'm so sorry to hear, in addition to what you've described, what you have personally had to go through in simply predicting and using your keys. The fact that you get all the vitriol and the hatred is mind-boggling to me, even though I'm not politically naive to where we are right now. I'm sorry for you and your family on that point. For other intellectuals, though, you and a polling legend, Nate Silver, you've been feuding over whose prediction methods are more accurate. The fights, frankly, have gotten pretty heated. And you just mentioned you're taking a break, taking incoming from all corners. Why do you think the climate, though, has gotten so nasty this time around?
It's Donald Trump, and I've never experienced this before Donald Trump. We've never had a candidate before who has dehumanized his political opposition, called them vermin, called them worse than the murderous dictator Kim Jong-un, who machine guns his political opponents, calling out the military against U.S. citizens. Not just criticizing Liz Cheney on her foreign policy, which would be fine, but talking about her facing 9 gun barrels shooting at her. We're saying he wouldn't mind if people shot at the so-called fake news, the press. This is what is different. This is what we have never seen before in American politics. He said he'd be a dictator on day one, to drill, drill, drill. Well, drilling doesn't take one day, it takes months and years. And no dictator in the history of the world has ever relinquished power after being a dictator on day one. And by the way, I didn't like Trump any better in 2016 when I predicted his win. My predictions are totally nonpartisan. I predicted the two most conservative presidents of our time. My first prediction was of Ronald Reagan in April 1982, when 60% of Americans said he was too old to run again.
And here we are at the 11th hour practically, and your predictions, you say, stand, and you're not changing your mind on what you've got from these different keys. I'll be really intrigued to see what happens this coming Tuesday, as frankly the entire globe is as well. Alan Lichtman, always a pleasure to pick your brain. Thank you.
My pleasure. And the keys are the North Star of prediction. They don't change.
Donald Trump delivering a dark closing message. The former president casting doubt on an election where the results.
Yeah, I just think that I really think that they sit here and try to attack Trump and call him a dictator and stuff like that, and really because they continue to confuse people. They really continue to confuse people and hide behind this, we're doing the right thing, when in all reality, they're not concerned with what the right thing is. Matter of fact, they're not even concerned with the American people. I mean, like, at all. So to sit here and say that, you know, Trump is a dictator and he's the little mustache man reincarnated and all that kind of stuff, because that's where they always take that. I'm like, didn't you guys like literally launch Kamala Harris on stage? You know, nobody voted for her. Nobody knew of her like that. Nobody really wanted her at all. All right. Nobody thought she was going to be in charge, but here she is. And it's not by their choice. So you literally just took their choice away right there. I mean, how are they fighting for socialism? I just, you know, it's beyond me. Let's go on with this next clip. Comment down below what you guys think.
Haven't even been tallied yet. He is already priming supporters with claims the election is being stolen from him, zeroing in on the process in Pennsylvania.
They definitely tried it.
Can you imagine? They spend all this money on machines, and they're going to say, we may take an extra 12 days to determine. And what do you think happens during that 12 days? What do you think happens? These elections have to be decided by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. Bunch of crooked people. These are crooked people.
So to be clear, the election law in Pennsylvania mandates that no mail-in ballots can even be processed before the polls close on Election Day. This led to several days of counting in 2020, which eventually revealed Joe Biden's victory in that state and, of course, in the presidential election overall. Trump left office after losing dozens of lawsuits challenging the results and the violence of January 6th that disrupted the counting of the electoral votes. But now, Trump is saying maybe he should have never left.
We had the safest border in the history of our country the day that I left. I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well. We had such a great. So now, I mean, every polling booth has hundreds of lawyers standing there. It's all about the lawyers. Everybody's standing lawyers. Nobody should have that.
Vice President Harris now striking a more optimistic tone in her final rallies. After calling herself the underdog since she entered the race back in July, now she's saying this.
We have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it? And we have the momentum because our campaign is tapping into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. Because we are optimistic and excited about what we can do together.
To ruin the country. The nightmares of the American people to ruin the country. Translation.
First, momentum. It's the trickiest thing to judge here in the final days. Many of the major battle.
If there's any momentum Ku Klux Kamala Harris is talking about, I would say it's panic. All right. That's why they're out here trying to pay people off and bribe them with $25,000 payments, $25,000 payments. Okay. We just posted it on our most previous video before this one. So you can definitely go check that out. Shout out to the liberal hive mind. And yeah. So let's get on with this video. Then I have some more clips talking about the polls after this.
Ground and national polls have been showing a dead heat in virtually every state for weeks now, which is why this poll out of Iowa shocked so many people this weekend. The Des Moines Register poll shows Harris up 3 points among likely voters, a 7-point swing toward the vice president in that ruby red state from September. The new margin delivering what sources tell CNN is a gut punch to members of Trump's team. Publicly, here's what Donald Trump has to say about the poll.
No, the polls, I'm telling you, you can make those suckers sing. You get the right pollster, you can do, and you really do inflict damage, when you do like this person from Iowa. It's called suppression. They suppress, and it's actually should be illegal because it's, in many ways, it's worse than the written word, which these guys do quite well, actually.
That same Iowa poll correctly predicted Trump's victories in the state in the past 2 elections within 2.5 points of the final margin of victory. Joining us now to discuss all of this, Jackie Kucinich. She's Washington Bureau Chief for the Boston Globe. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you.
My goodness.
Election day is tomorrow.
who can believe it, truly?
So let's talk about where this race stands here in the final stretch. I mean, you can see there Trump already running the strategy, trying to cast doubt on the results. The Harris team feeling, and when I talk to my Democratic sources, they are feeling cautiously optimistic about where the momentum is. There had been this period where it felt like the race was swinging back towards Trump's direction. I think the big question, is it coming back toward Harris here in the final days?
Well, and you have the New York Times poll this morning that says, yes, that those late-breaking voters, of which there are very few, are breaking. They're seeing them break for Harris. Now, will it be enough? And that is the open question. But even listening to those messages, it's really interesting. It's hard to see who the insurgent candidate is at this point. Who's the incumbent? Who's the challenger? Because it really does sound flipped right now, particularly how the former president is talking. Listen, he has been sowing discontent about this election for a couple months now. And look at the front page of the papers. Everything's about trying to safeguard the vote because these election officials are really concerned about this. I mean, we've reported it. You have in the Post and USA Today. I'm sure the Times has done it as well.
Yeah.
And what you're hearing, his comments about having to have the vote counted on election night, that's just, I mean, election officials have been out for months saying that's not going to happen, and not because anything bad is happening. It's because good things are happening. It's because in these states.
That's super cap. That's super cap. They're panicking like crazy. All right. I mean, people are fed up. Okay. So there's that. Then they saw Trump get shot. All right. It turned into the whole thing, a whole Trump rally turned into a John Wick 5. And then, and then we see you guys out here burning ballots, trying to, make it difficult for people to vote on the digital ballots and, the digital polls and all that kind of stuff. And, We see you guys. Like, we see the Dems cheating actively. Like, this entire election, they've just been cheating consistently, just trying to attack Trump with lawfare, and it's just been nuts. Okay, hitting him with ridiculous fines over in New York City, Judge Engeron. I know you guys remember that. And, so with that being said, there we go. That's CNN. And here's this. Shout out to Johnny MAGA. Fine. This is posted on November 4th, 2024, 7:15 p.m. Final Atlas Intel poll, Trump leads in all 7 swing states. So here you have this right here. You can take a screenshot or whatever you want to do right there. Harris. So U.S. elections 2024, Harris versus Trump in swing states. In a head-to-head race between Harris and Trump, whom would you vote for? So here we have Arizona. Trump is cooking Harris in Arizona. He's cooking Harris in Georgia, and he's over Harris. He's just in all swing states. It's just wild. Okay, so in Minnesota, but that's kind of to be expected in Minnesota, especially with like Tampon Tim Walz being out there, and that's like kind of his territory. That or he's in Mississippi. I gotta look it up. Where's Tampon Tim? He's either Minnesota or Mississippi. But yeah, as you can see right here, Trump is pretty much leading in all these swing states, okay, other than Minnesota and Virginia. So there we have that right there. But then he got Pennsylvania. That's huge. That's huge. All right, so this is what that is showing right there. And shout out to Benny Johnson. Here we have another clip from November 4th, 2024, 4:30 p.m. Rasmussen, I think I said that right. If I butchered his name, I apologize. Head pollster Mark Mitchell confirms polls show a Trump landslide. I agree that there is a pretty solid case that happens. It's predicated on all the Republican registration gains. There is a much better case for a Trump landslide than a Harris overperformance. So we're going to get right into this clip right here.
Did not really.
So these are the final state polling for Rasmussen.
Yep. After we showed you this, we got Wisconsin at Trump +3 and Michigan at Harris +1. But yeah, this is all of the polls. And I'll tell you, New Mexico, Harris +5, New Hampshire, Harris +1, Virginia. Here's the thing, right? They're going to need those Rust Belt votes, but we could get early returns out of Virginia that show that it's going more red than everybody expects. You know, Youngkin won it there. And then, right, if we're seeing heavy rural New Jersey Republican turnout and depressed turnout again in all of the blue Democrat population centers, like, it really could break in a massive way. It really could be a complete upset. I mean, again, I've tried not to go too far out on the, and I think people have quoted me and said this is like 1980. Well, let me caveat that it's in 1980 in that I think the pollsters were lying by an equal amount, but luckily because of maybe the internet, maybe because of us polling daily, for whatever reason, they broke to the right sooner than in 1980. And also there was that third-party spoiler, right? If you took his votes and gave them to Carter, I think you'd see a Reagan +4 or 5, maybe 6. And that's what we might see. We could see a Trump +4. I've got him at Trump +3. But look at time and time again, Democrat turnout down, Republican turnout up. Democrat mail-ins way down. Just really horrible for them.
So you're using the L word. You're saying that landslide could be possible. 320 would be a landslide.
Is that what the word means? I mean, Scott Adams has been calling a landslide, so I agree that there is a pretty solid case that happens. It's predicated on I did not really go out on a limb to bake in all of the Republican registration gains. I did not go and say, hey, this time around, let me sort of downweight all of the black respondents. I didn't do any of that. I didn't say, hey, we should see way more rural turnout this time and way less urban turnout. I didn't do that in any of my polls. In fact, I was actually suppressing Trump support by waiting to the recall vote. So, we don't even, if I took that off, I think Trump would be outperforming. Without the recall vote, Trump's like +5, +6 in my numbers. So, there's a much better case for a Trump landslide than there is for a Harris overperformance. All of a sudden, it's 2012 again. All of a sudden, people have about as much enthusiasm for Trump as they do for Romney. I just don't see it. People obviously do. That's why they're trying to convince themselves with Ann Seltzer's Iowa poll. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people are taking that one single poll and saying, well, the entire polling industry is wrong. I put a meme up about it. They're literally ignoring all of the left-wing polling because they say that it's overemphasizing Trump support. They finally learned. Third time's a charm. They figured out how to poll Trump Republicans.
So there you have it. Okay, there we have it right there. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. All right. I personally think that I really think that Trump has a serious shot at winning this. I think he is going to win it personally. And yeah, that's that. I do believe that the Democrats are desperate. They are trying everything they can. And that's that. We have to keep voting. We have to keep pushing forward and getting this content out, making sure more people can see this stuff. Okay. We have to keep sharing these videos, keep voting, keep bringing people to vote with you. All right. All that kind of stuff. And, yeah, it's that, or, we see the ruin of this country. So that's my thoughts on it, you guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. As always, shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad family, the King Squad Elites. You guys are the bomb.com. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.